So how's it going?
Really well. Definitely lots of stuff going on. I feel like behind the scenes, maybe, or like, I don't know. It's like energetically, there's a lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a noticeable shift in a lot of ways. Um, have you been tracking Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and
Oh, you already know it, man.
Andrew Tate?
Yeah, it's funny because right before we got on, I was playing a little bit of like the Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes there with Myron Gaines right now talking.
I was also. Yeah.
Nice.
What part did you listen to?
I got through the first hour and like 20 minutes, I believe.
Oh, okay. I watched a 10-minute clip talking. It was Nick basically saying why he isn't a Fed and why Tucker is a Fed.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's
The deep dive he did.
I can't believe how many of these podcasters are pointing the finger at each other, accusing each other of being feds.
Yeah, I think it's tough because I really like agree with a lot of what Nick is doing, but not so much of like wanting to have this internal fight within the truth telling movement, but it's like it's looking at, and I think I've mentioned this before, but like who is controlling the Overton window right now and who is steering it a certain way, and like when did they get in place and start speaking out about this? And that's where it kind of gets interesting with Tucker and Candace. Even though I love their stuff, I'm still like watching their stuff. Like I have on my list to watch that Tucker episode with that nun. I heard that was incredible.
Yeah, yeah, they all put out really good content. It almost feels like, and Nick has his reasons as to why he feel the way he feels about Trump and JD Vance, and they're very valid reasons. But it does feel like he's trying to form some sort of movement to undermine the right, and I think the right really doesn't like that. But I think what people need to understand is it's not going to go to the left either. This is just a whole different type of movement. It's it's America first. Uh, After watching all of his clips, that's all it is. That's all he wants is America first.
Yeah, I agree. And I am happy a lot of the stuff is coming to light with I mean it's been to light, but that it's getting that exposure with JD Vance because
Yeah.
it's definitely a tough one for me. It's like I was liking all the stuff that he said, and then I found a lot of this out probably would have been December of last year, maybe January this year. And oh, it's because you can just see that they're prepping him
Mhm.
for the presidency, and then with all of the stuff in the background with Palantir, with the big beautiful
Yeah.
bill, and being in all the systems, it's definitely unsettling. Uh, I think also with when it comes to JD Vance, he's doing all the right things in Europe too. That's one of the things that Andrew Tate was talking about is he's the only one speaking out. So it's kind of like
He's like that
it puts
advocate.
you in this yeah, it puts you in this tough spot. It
Yeah.
really does. But of course, we think that Trump is in the astrology community. He's not going to make it through like the first year and a half of the presidency. So, and you can just see that, and we've discussed this with the moves and counter moves that are being made, and where he does and doesn't get involved with the, stuff like the Epstein files and the whole debacle that's been.
Yeah, I think I read a woke headline that said Trump made us all forget about the Epstein logs. And the steam is start beginning to die down a little bit for sure, just because there's so many other things happening. But I can assure you, we're not going to forget. It's going to be
Yeah.
something that we're going to hammer for years on end. I mean, it started back when he first killed himself, or he didn't. It That's when it started, and we'll never stop searching until we find an answer. It's just like the JFK files. It's never gonna not be a topic.
Yeah, and it's when you see every single thing that's getting done in the Trump presidency right now being for Israel, and the things that weren't for Israel, they pulled back on, like the deportations and just like all these things that were like, oh, sweet, that's America first. There ended up being this subtext under it.
Hmm.
And then it ultimately benefits either a business person who's highly connected to Israel or just Israel themselves. And then, like with and I'm not one who's big on entitlements or anything, but with like the Medicaid and food stamps and all that, it's like that money just got picked up and sent to Israel. It's like, it's crazy.
It would be amazing to see what this country would be like if all of the money stayed within the country. Meaning you could still make profit on exports, so to speak, for other countries buying from you, yes. But overall, if you had all literal American citizens in the country with their families in the country working the jobs, and basically the whole entire economy is just like the swimming pool of just the United States, and the money isn't going out to other countries, or it isn't going in the pockets of illegals in a way that is hidden by taxes, because these larger like farmers can get away without having to pay taxes because they're not legitimately employees, and they can pay them under a certain amount. Like, this is all money that ends up disappearing into the economy. And a lot of it doesn't stay in America. It usually goes home, which, by the way, you do what you got to do. You figured out how to do it. Go ahead and do it. Sure. But what I'm saying is it would really be amazing to see the progress this country would have if all the money stayed here. It would be nuts. It would be Dubai in 30 years.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing that, when before we had the Federal Reserve and when we were doing tariffs and doing all of our own production, we had that whole thing where we had to figure out like, whoa, we have so much money, like what are we gonna do with it? And this is what Trump talks about too, is that like they made committees about like how we're gonna spend all of our wealth. And now Dubai is going through the exact same thing. So like you bring up Dubai, that's the thing right now. They're like we're sitting on all this money, like should we reinvest it in here? Should we do this? Like, how are we going to do this? And that's kind of what they're deciding right now. I think a big part of that is also going to be, at least they've made the moves in finance for it. It looks like they're positioning for it. Is the stuff with the Gaza Strip? It looks like they might invest into that because they're looking to make that like a world capital, of course.
Yeah, some sort of I think Trump mentioned it as like a Riviera or something like that. They're gonna redo it, and it's gonna be gold plated.
Yeah, it's just
That's
and
kind of
it gets to
wild.
that whole thing of like, do we even know what's going on behind the scenes? Because it just doesn't make sense.
No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with cleaning up the land. Go for it. But as far as making it into this destination, well, this is a place of genocide, essentially. Why would it then become a vacation spot?
Yeah, and then we had, Jared Kushner just like licking his lips right as it started. And he's like, this is gonna be great property. Like that's just like, oh my God, dude. Like,
He's so creepy, isn't he?
oh man, yeah, like
I and
just
I in the first term, I just from, I guess, witnessing from afar and maybe not having all the information that we have now, but I would I would have told you that Kushner had been a pivotal part in getting the embassy moved to, I think it was Jerusalem, which was like a big Middle East thing, and then all of a sudden these what do they call them, the Abraham Accords, of all the peace deals in the Middle East to make it thrive. Like, Kushner was like the man for all of those deals. And so if you would have asked me 2016 to 2020, what do I think? I would have said, well, he apparently was the guy that facilitated these deals. And now that I, learn a little bit more about the Zionism and whatnot, it turns out that, by the way, these Middle Eastern peace deals that Trump keeps lobbying for, these Nobel Peace Prizes, are these just little charades? And why do you, upon constantly teasing a third term, you're also lobbying yourself for a Nobel Peace Prize like almost every week?
yeah, and it's just it's erratic and chaotic. And I will say like that is what I voted for when people really couldn't wrap their heads around me voting for Trump. I said like, hey, whatever, like it's chaotic. Whatever he touches, like there's chaos around it, and then like something else comes up from it. So, but on top of just that being in his nature, he's hitting his Uranus return, and that's that chaotic planet. So there's like this upgrade of his chaos, and on top of that being a Gemini, always running two tracks, he's making people duke it out all the time and just like observing and watching it. but there's just this added chaos into the mix, and it gets back to like what is even really going on behind the scenes. We have, we talked about Iran with that too. Is like there's just something not adding up. I've been able to for the last 8 years watch politics and be like, oh, okay, well, like this is going on behind the scenes, so that makes sense, and but now it's just kind of like, and you can't really think that we're watching this and we're like, yeah, go Israel. Like you got to know your base is like not about that at all.
It's totally chaotic, and I don't have any idea what is actually going on. Honestly, there's a lot of things I do like, but one thing that is legitimately concerning me is this consistent tease of a third term. And I guess Newsom got a hat in the mail today that said Trump 2028 from one of Trump's big donors.
Oh, so that was what it was.
Newsom was all up in arms about it, and it was funny because obviously somebody was trolling him. And Newsom is having the war right now with Trump on the gerrymandering, and Newsom feels this need to insert himself just to feel important when there's nothing going on that's actually legitimately concerning him. And it's just like, well, let me get my camera time. I'm gonna hop on a few podcasts, and I'm gonna speak out, and now I'm gonna start tweeting in all caps and start talking like Trump, and now I'm gonna start moving my hands like Trump. He's such a scummy motherfucker.
Yeah,
Anyways,
he's ugh.
anyways, going off of that, it's a really slippery slope for a for us to give a president a third term. I mean, it as much, and we've already seen it, as much of as things swing one way, it'll swing back the other way harder, and then it'll go harder back and this, it's inevitable that probably in like early 2030s or late 2020s we're going to go back to the sensitivity bullshit and canceling people. And somebody will find something on a podcast from 4 years ago where they say they hate Jews, and all of a sudden they're canceled, and they're legitimately canceled. Like that's how these things go. So it's
Yeah, I
concerning.
would I'd say that that kind of lines up with like how we were talking about that's where the astrology is going is first the left is dying, then we're going to see the right dying, and we're kind of seeing like where that's going to spring from with like the war going on within the right now. Uh, but I would say with the astrology, I would think it's less that we go back to the sensitivity stuff and that there's a pivot by the left, and then they actually find a way to connect with the voters, and then they're able to really build back up and be a formidable threat again. Because right now, I think the biggest thing is they can't connect with young male voters,
No,
and
it'll
and
never
that is
happen.
that's their hardest thing, and they're very elitist at this point. Like they spent like the whole I and I've mentioned this, but spending millions of dollars to meet at a five-star hotel to discuss how to connect with like the young male working class. It's kind of like like defeats the purpose.
The big girl that they hired got fired, right? They
Oh yeah, I haven't kept up with that.
that's the news cycle for you. I mean, it's gone in seconds. But I think they did let her go. I think they're trying on a new initiative. It'll never
Okay.
happen. And by the way, it doesn't mean that young males are going to be voting on the right either. I think what we're seeing right now in this war within the right, because there's clearly a war going on in the right. It's very evident. And I think half of that has to do with, I think there's certain people in the administration, in Congress and Senate that see that Republicans have the upper hand right now and can get anything passed that they want. So right now it's just a big power grab, just depending on who your lobbyists are. But I
Yeah,
think
and I
I think with all this information that is pouring out, and the more and more that we continue to use more neutral, uh, I guess we're able to navigate more neutral news now. Uh, I think there is going to be a third party, and there's some sort of revolution coming. There most certainly is, because I'm not standing for what the right is doing if they're going to actually push forward with a third term or anything like that. Like that's gotta stop. And the only way to do that is to disrupt the system.
yeah, and I would say as like a devil's advocate, of course, or like to not so much that I agree, but to take the other side. and add more to the discussion on that third term. It's like if they are able to repeal that amendment that doesn't allow for the third term, then it's kind of like, I'm all about the law and all that stuff, but I think there's a reason we don't have like third terms and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
but I just do want to like remind people that we used to be able to do that, and it is just an amendment. It's not enshrined into like the base constitution.
He definitely leverages a lot of the law in a lot of his deals, which, by the way, I mean, that's the law. Those are the rules. You play by the rules. And that's a businessman that understands where to put the pressure in order to get what he wants. So I completely understand that. But it,
It would be destructive to the right, though,
it,
to
it,
run a third term.
it I would say that the first 6 months of his president, or I guess 8 months now of his presidency, already has been destructive to the right.
Yeah,
We were in a very good place about 5 months ago, and all you had to do is just keep it going and just did what you fucking promised. Just release the goddamn Epstein files. Fuck it, and then afterward, then defend yourself and say it's Democrat fake news, and that's why they didn't, um, you know, release the files, or there's some. It's just the whole thing. Just do what you promised. You did what you were promising the first 2 or 3 months, and it was great. But now it's like everything that every way he turns, he's just hurting the right more and more, and it's making all of us drift away from it.
yeah, and really the only ones that are still on board are the boomers, because I was the only millennial as far as I worked the mock election, getting ready for the midterms
Yeah,
over like last week and everything. And it was pretty insane. Some of the because I was talking with people that were on the right, as we left work and all that, because we don't talk politics in the building, or at least we're not supposed to. People still do. But no, that was the big thing with the boomers is they didn't even understand really any of the Israel stuff when I would have conversations with them. They liked that I voted for Trump too and all that stuff, and then we got a discussion going about it because of course everyone's very surprised when they find that out about me.
yeah,
But it's almost like the age groups are all living in different worlds as far as their information consumption. So I brought these things up, and they're over here like Israel's our greatest ally, and it was kind of like a Twilight Zone moment for me. I'm like, whoa, like these people stop the Epstein files from coming out. Well, and I should say like our politicians themselves. They called it a recess, and then half of them flew to Tel Aviv
I know,
and are there right now.
I
And
know.
it's like, do we not see that something is going on right now? And then we stopped the war in Iran, the 12-day war they're calling it now. We stopped that, and then all of a sudden, all this Epstein controversy is coming out. It's like it seems to be coordinated, and that's speculation for me, but it just seems kind of coordinated. Like all of a sudden, like, oh hey, we'll kind of make this go away, like, but we're gonna like need our pound of flesh, and then now we see the stuff ramping back up in Iran. People can't get water. All that. This is lining up perfectly with the astrology and with what Nick Fuentes says is that like you haven't seen the last of this. Like it's gonna be bad. Like Israel is mad as F that Trump like put a stop to it. And it's like how much control does he really have over it though? If they can not only blackmail him, but blackmail our politicians into just doing whatever their interests are in the Middle East, which ties into the whole greater Israel project
Mhm.
and the IMEC corridor and all of their plans for trade that are going to be going through there. And that, that even ties in with the Dubai stuff we mentioned and how they're getting ready to invest in that area.
They make it really difficult. The whole Middle East situation does, because even when the Hamas attacks happened on October 7th of 2023, of course you have the right to defend yourself. And I'm not advocating for Hamas in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, what Israel does, and some of the stuff that Israel did during that attack, where they were posting phony, like the Israeli administration on Twitter was posting phony photos, AI made photos of like kids' bedrooms with fucking blood in it, and like community notes picked that up on X right away, and it right there and then it dawned on me that they make it seem like you want to defend them, but do you actually really want to help them? And then the other thing that clicked for me, just over the last 6 months, is The last name Epstein. Oh my God, Epstein. That's an Israeli name. I mean, that's a Jew's name.
Yeah,
Of course. Duh. No wonder the files haven't come
exactly.
out. It doesn't matter who was inside of in the files, whether it was Trump or the Democrats. There's a reason why the files didn't come out for 4 years under Joe Biden. Which, by the way, Joe Biden wasn't the one running the administration. I think we all know that now. So it's incredibly fascinating that Israel can play off like this victim and that they need this help in this defense, but really they're the ones that are controlling the whole country.
Yeah, and I think it just really gets to this third party talk, and it just seems like that's springing up. The logistics of how that would work are still beyond me, I would say, like to get everyone to actually have enough faith in that, or for things to get bad enough to vote for that third party. And we're kind of up the mindset in the astrology community, some type of controlled like war popping off, like to where the violence actually hits American soil, that like being late January, early February, or at least starting to see those signs, a resumption of the Iran war and all that. Like I feel like that's an area where it could get bad enough to where people, and then continually until like the next general election, to where people would actually enough people would vote for that, and it would need to be a party that is very centrist, like most people are at this point. It's like both sides have gotten so extreme. Most
Yeah,
people are center leaning right or left, and then they're forced to vote for these parties that are getting more and more extreme on each side. And that's why you saw the rush to the center in this last election, because they realized like that was whose vote they were trying to really win. The centrists have grown over the years, but
yeah,
I thought it was really funny. There was this when you're talking about like the realization of his last name and all of that.
yeah,
There was this meme I saw of like the Matrix. It was like Morpheus and Neo, and it just hit so hard now. But he was like, "You're telling me I can just check their early life section of their Wikipedia page?" And he's like, "No, Neo, I'm telling you, when you're ready, you won't have to." And that's like where I've gotten at this point. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, like I'm just kind of identifying the last names, and it's not to be like any like weird about like Jewish people are like, oh, like you can't, because there's Jewish people who are doing great work in this and exposing it, but
yes,
man, like it's kind of like a like every bird Dinkelberg Timowitz type of situation, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's just put two and two together. It's sometimes as simple as looking at eye color of a family to determine if somebody isn't part of that family. It's literally that simple sometimes. Did you happen to see the most recent RFK? I'll call it a gaff.
Hmm.
It's
I think the last thing I heard was about, well, they put the water back, like Pambani blocked the water going in or something, or
we need to get rid of her.
or,
Oh my
or like
God.
the fluoride. Yeah, Pam Blondie, right?
By the way, why is and I'm not complaining, but why is every single woman inside of his administration attractive?
Right. No. It's funny, it's in his astrology too. Like he's
You're just a
like
babe
he
magnet. Can I have that
surrounds
astrology?
himself right. He loves to be surrounded by beautiful things. It's like kind of an obsession with him, and there's like an aesthetic to it. That was
Yep.
he's actually it's interesting. He's got the same Jupiter placement as me, but there's like a variation to it to where he needs to be surrounded by beautiful things all the time. And it's yeah, it's his Jupiter placement. It's really interesting.
Where was I going with this? Okay, so the and let's go back. Remind me if I forget. Let's go back to the fancy thing Trump likes, but I wanted to finish my point on RFK first. Um, so his Twitter account or the Maha Twitter account posted a or made a post or tweeted this new vaccine that they're going to be releasing that will cover COVID and the flu, but it's going to be much safer. And it got a lot of blowback, and then it got deleted. And I, I'm not, I'm thankful so far for what's been done as far as a lot of the preservatives out of the food dye need to leave. If that's what it took, I guess, to vote this guy in, I guess I'll take that as a win. And then also, this administration seems to be committed on allowing people to have a choice, not be mandated to do vaccines, which I also appreciate. So those things, and I guess another way to look at it as I'm talking about this out loud is maybe it's a mission of RFK to produce a safe vaccine, because there's going to be half the population that's still going to believe that they need to get vaccines. So this is his way of making it more healthy. Maybe that's what it is, because obviously it's not realistic just to say I'm going to eliminate all of them when we're never going to have them again. So as I'm talking this out loud now, I'm now maybe understanding the point behind it, although I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I do remember hearing about that. It was like Asmongold reacted to it or something recently,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like getting ready for something, but now it's kind of like it's in the back of my head, and I do like the point that you're making because I hadn't thought about that, and that makes a lot of sense. It's just like it feels like there's this push and pull within that administration within HHS of like good things, and then like there's like a pullback on it, and then
Yeah,
there's like a bad thing, like the anti-Semitism being like the greatest health threat, like that was just insane. It's like you can't even make this stuff up.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
and then
I
there's the fluoride one that we mentioned and all that, but
Did you ever listen to Suzanne Humphreys talk about the polio vaccine?
no, I don't think so.
So I think the polio vaccine was one of the first vaccines in America, and the polio vaccine actually came from pesticides that farmers were using to keep the crops alive. That's where polio came from.
Jeez.
So the deal is stop using the pesticides, right? Well, instead they made a vaccination to prevent the polio from the people that had the pesticides. Well, it turns out that the vaccine then created polio. And then now all the polio that is still present in today's time is the strain from the vaccine, not the pesticides.
That's insane. It doesn't even surprise me at this point. That's wild though.
And we don't have enough information on it yet, but I'm willing to bet that's what fucking Omicron was after they vaccinated all those people for COVID. That was like it's the lesser sickness of all the COVIDs, but now it's the most common one. Well, shit, it was probably made from the vaccine. The strain came from the vaccine, and everyone was getting each other sick that way. There's a lot of information that people don't understand about this, and I just would like to make anyone aware of it. It's do your research and be critical, because like this isn't a good thing.
Yeah, and one of the bigger doctors, that's kind of stuff I just watch in passing, like as they talk about it, because they'll go into them on their podcast. But they did make that point that you made about that's where Omicron came from.
Oh, it did. Okay, I was just guessing that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
then like with that other information you just gave, makes perfect sense too. So even, but I forget if it was the guy who was like tried, that bald dude with the glasses. I think it came from him, and he's been for like
Oh,
5 years now doing it.
yeah. Not Scott Adams. He was apologizing because he ended up getting turbo cancer or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. Terrible, terrible situation. I didn't wish it upon anybody to get it, and so many people were pressured into getting it. And you know, if there wasn't proof of corporations controlling this entire country, people's jobs were telling them, we're not going to keep you if you don't get vaccinated, or we're going to charge you more every month on your insurance like you're a smoker. And then it turns out that what is it, like there's over 300,000, or is it 3 million vaccine injuries so far?
Oh yeah, the numbers are, and they're growing exponentially,
They
and
are.
that's another thing, because like I'm getting so far into the astrology right now. So like, I'm giving my own readings and all that. So when I can say like my teacher said it, it's like he's got even way more experience than me. And I just and I have a few different teachers, but that was what he was saying, is that you're gonna see it ramp up exponentially with like the injuries and everything that are gonna get, and the deaths that are gonna be happening, and it's gonna be in these waves. And because it is something that messes with the DNA.
I don't think anybody can blame me for being skeptical at this point. And any any doctor that talks to me with my children and talks to me about it, you can't blame me for being skeptical. And by the way, no, I'm just no. Period. Okay, Trump liking nice things. He wants to attach a $200 million ballroom to the side of the White House, and it's going to be plated gold, and it's coming out of his own money. Have you read this story?
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Have you seen the blueprints?
No.
It's literally attached to the White House. It's like you have the White House. Oh, let's see. Well, you have the White House, right? Okay, here we go. You have the White House, and then right here, it's just a long ballroom right on the left side.
Oh wow, that's something. Jeez, kind of cringe.
That's a $200 million ego.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just like it's so funny for me to keep attaching it to the astrology, but like we call, the Roman times when we had Caesars, we call that a golden age. And then like he keeps using this golden age
Yeah,
terminology,
right.
and it's just kind of getting it's and then there's the whole idea of the third term. It's getting very Caesary.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's and of course we're under that same astrology too. So it's
Yeah.
it's just really interesting. And then of course there's like the Civil War, World War II, Revolutionary War. It's like we're hitting all these things.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much going on, and it makes you wonder what kind of I don't want to say like magics, but like the kind of astrologers that they have on their side, like why they're doing weird, chaotic things at certain times because it's like there's this huge disconnect. So is it like from Israel that's like getting this through or like what because it's like you can't actually think unless you have people that you just trust that much that are feeding you false information, which is possible, but you can't actually like think that that's what's going on. And Tim Dillon was really talking about this too.
I love
It's
Tim
just like
Dillon.
oh man, like I've been enjoying him. I just love the humor that comes
Oh,
from him and everything. And
phenomenal
of
off the
course he like
cuff.
sat down with Alex Jones recently. That was fun. But no, he was just kind of bringing that up too of like where like they're trying to get everything they can out of Trump because they don't expect him to be there. And he doesn't know the astrology or anything. So like that's already something that I thought, but I loved the point that he made. Like they don't think he's gonna be there that long. So they're just trying to get like hit all the Israel stuff as fast as they can. All the donors are like just
Yeah.
milking what they can out, and then like they're gonna toss him to the side and put in JD Vance. And I was just like, that's very astute. And like that's what it looks like with all these wild things going on, is they're coming from like the business Jewish donor class right there. And of course, like I always have to repeat, like this is not about like Jews or anything, but it's just like they are Jewish. What like let's just call it what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and like they have dual citizenship. Most of these people, like Miriam Adelson, like Sheldon Adelson, have said like I want to be buried in Israel. Like I like my allegiances come to Israel first. I'm paraphrasing, but that's like what they've said. So they don't care about anything that's having to do with us. They care about their power seat and how it's going to be to them and how it can serve them in funneling everything to Israel, creating greater Israel, and having that like excuse the term, that Mecca in the Middle East.
Yeah. I just I hope more and more people continue to learn that because it's definitely gonna be up to this next generation that is growing up in this information age to vote out the people that are pro-Israel. And it's by the way, it's going to happen. When we were speaking of a revolution, as you said, the boomers don't realize this this Jew deal in Israel, this the Zionism in Israel, and it's because they don't listen to like the Candace Owens and they don't listen to the Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlsons and any of the more modern podcast styles, even if it's on the left or whatever, right? Alex Jones. Instead, they're listening to Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and these channels. They don't cover this Israel fodder that's going on. It's all behind the scenes when it comes to mainstream media. My business partner who I work with almost daily, he has to get his injection of Fox News in the first 3 hours every day. So turn on he'll have it on the speakers in the shop, and I mean, whenever Trump gets interviewed in front of his plane or his helicopter, I like to count how many times he says beautiful. It's so funny. But he too, when we talk about it, he does, oh, we got to protect Israel.
Oh
And
yeah, and
I
it's
mean
yeah.
that's it. That's this generation. I mean, that's what they were all told. They were told to hide under desks because Russians are gonna come, fuck you up, and Israel's good.
Yeah, and the disconnect it goes back to what I was saying about the boomers at the election office and everything, but the it's a shocking disconnect right now. And then part of that even ties into, being a Judeo-Christian because I love to study theology, and then the involvement of Judaism into like throughout the 50s and all that, and how it was essentially, and this is like very much simplifying it, but injected into Catholicism, Christianity. You had the rise of like modern Protestantism at that point. And because you had like there were Protestants around and everything, but then there was this evolution of the Protestant faith, whereas we had more Catholics for a long time. Now it's we have more Protestants and they are Judeo-Christian, and it's all about like a misinterpretation of what Israel is in the Bible and what the meaning is. And that was perfectly exemplified when Tucker Carlson interviewed Ted Cruz of what he thought it was versus like what it actually is by the best of biblical scholars and everything. But there is this deep programming, not just on the political level, but then on like the spiritual level within their religion. And then, there are a lot of them are going to these mega churches who are they have people who are getting trips to Israel, and then they're getting the script on like what to say about Israel and all that to talk about this with the churchgoers.
I think Israel's vaccination rate during COVID was like 99.7.
I remember seeing that. It was super high. It was in the 90s for sure.
Only zero point 0.3 of the nation didn't buy into the propaganda.
That
They're the
really is
they're the
insane.
propaganda kings. Are they not? I mean, they're able to influence America, and they're also able to influence their people to the point of 99.7. They've had the same they've had the same is he a prime minister? Is that what he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had the same prime minister since 2000. And there was a little bit of a break, but I think that was more him kind of stepping back, and then because there was some things going on, some sketchy things. I don't remember the exact details, but then he came back. So, uh they are the kings and queens of propaganda. I mean, I will go back to what I was saying about the October 7th Twitter thing about the children's bedrooms with the blood. I mean, and they run all of our media. When it comes to Fox News, CNN, they oppose each other, but they're run by the same people.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're able to offset it by having the Murdoch brothers, but when you really look into their connections, it's like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. And the one thing that I wanted to say about the vaccine thing, and this gets into more of like, I mean, people are going to be more accepting in the new energy we're kind of moving into of talking about like the spiritual things behind this, whether you want to talk about the DNA and its connection to the soul and why they want to alter it and all that. But I think it's interesting you talk about the vaccination rate there, and then we look at in Israel 80% of the population was okay with everything that's been done to Hamas with the strikes against Iran and all that. And I've gone down some deeper rabbit holes, like in a philosophical sense of how much easier it is to program people who have been vaccinated. It is just something I pay attention to. I don't like live by it, but I've been noticing that. And then it's kind of a chicken or the egg argument, like were they already easily programmable? And so that's why they took the vaccine and now it continues, or, you know, and then of course there's like behavioral things that have been coming up and people are starting to track that. Not it hasn't come together in such like great paperwork or anything, but it is a trend that's kind of being tracked like in the fringes of the research communities that I follow.
And again, what allow me to be skeptical? What has the medical industry, I'm going to say pharmaceutical industry actually, because some of the stuff that's done in the medical industry when it comes to certain surgeons, absolutely incredible, and they're life saving and they're incredibly brilliant people. But and also, by the way, doctors, I'm not saying that doctors are bad people either, because they're not. They're doing what they were taught to do. And they're also have gone along believing that what they're doing is for the greater good. And that, in my opinion, is pure intention. But the thing about the whole pharmaceutical industry and bringing down behavior and making people slower, now autism is connected to vaccines. I mean, we're in a country when it comes to being skeptical and also being surprised by this, you shouldn't be. We had lead in our gasoline until like the 90s. Look at Flint, Michigan's water. We put fluoride in toothpaste. On the back of toothpaste, it says do not swallow or call some sort of toxic services, some sort of poison service, but we're expected to put it in our mouth and brush our teeth with it. And then also, like, America makes the food pyramid where it's you have 9 to 12 grain a day, and it really brought on the generation of fat people because all people ate was grain. And it's breakfast. It's you always have some sort of grain, whether it's your toast, your bagel, even your cereal, and then mix that with sugar and milk and more sugar. And orange juice is also full of sugar and it fucks you up. This vaccine thing shouldn't surprise anybody. This whole system's been fucked for the entire time.
Yeah, and then you can even equate it to just an energetic level, like, oh, if they're not healthy, then they keep coming back to us. If we don't give them cures for stuff, then they'll keep coming back. And it's like milking us for money, but what is money? It's energy, and it's become this force, like our government and the corporations and all that. It's become this like energy vampire force that's just like sucking us dry, sucking the light. And you can just look around at everything, and the younger and younger generations having less and less, and just see that to really be the case. And it's like they're gonna keep on doing it until we're a husk, essentially.
Yeah, right. I'm really happy that there's people out there that are, spreading the word about health and eating right. And I think again with the direction that Maha is taking overall with healthier foods and different corporations removing everything, it should be heading in a better direction in that regard. So I am happy with the direction the country is headed in that regard overall. I just want a choice on my vaccines. I want a choice, and I also want to be able to you know guilt free maybe buy a bag of chips that doesn't have red 40 and yellow 6 in it mixed with aluminum and and anything else that they like to throw into junk food for some reason.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was gonna bring up when you brought up the bread is like even if you portion the bread properly now, there's so much garbage in it. It's
Yeah.
like you need to make your own bread or something like that, and it's what's really just kept me. It's just easier for me not to eat it, like I'll go these periods where I'll have like only fresh baked bread that goes bad in like 2 days,
And that's the way it
from the
should be.
bakery or something.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But like it's because I have like I bulk and I cut, and so I'm in a cutting phase now, so no bread for me. But I do have like chips, and I got to make sure they're chips that are like made in avocado oil, or
Yeah. Have you seen the new chips being advertised that are made in beef tallow? They're called
Oh, that sounds great.
Vandies. They're fucking expensive. It's $24 for a bag.
Wow,
Yeah, but
and
they're
at this large
supposedly
still,
yeah, they're supposedly real sliced potato chips and they're deep fried in beef tallow.
it sounds
So
incredible.
it does sound really good. I was wanting to buy a bag, but I can't justify $24 for a bag of chips. That just doesn't sit right with me. I
Yeah,
can't do it.
you have to like take an edible and like really savor it to make it worth that, right?
At least one. Uh I haven't had chips in I think about 8 months. I remember my last bag I had. I recall. It's funny you mentioned that about bread. I had the kids about like a week and a half ago, and we normally will get fresh baked bread, usually from Whole Foods or something like that. But we were in a pinch like the last day, and I was just gonna just grab a quick loaf of bread from Walmart. Wasn't thinking much of it. Anyways, my kids left last Friday, and today's Thursday, so it's been 6 days. I went shopping for that loaf of bread on Wednesday, so we're at 8 days right now. I opened the bag this morning, and it's still perfectly white, and it's
Oh my
like
goodness.
I threw it in the trash. I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't get myself. Ever since I've been back from Costa Rica, I feel so guilty when I eat shitty food. It just, I, I just want to tell myself knock it off, and I just don't eat. So, I guess it works.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely like the fasting stuff because I was bulking and
Yeah.
it's definitely like bloating and it's like I'm like I don't need to be eating this much, but now I'm back in intermittent fasting and it's like, oh, I feel amazing. Oh my goodness. And you realize like how much you really don't need a lot of food or anything. But yeah,
Hmm.
like with the bread, it's like all like if you're looking at chemical composition and all that, when I went to university, like that was what I was going for. I dropped out, but I went for biochemistry. So like I really like chemical compositions of things and the preservatives. I mean, it's essentially plastics that they're putting in there. Like they're putting it in there in a certain way, and but it's like a synthetic like preservative plastic type of thing. Like it shares a lot of the properties of it. So it's just like gross to see like, oh, okay, like that's how they're keeping it from having all of this mold come in and take up those spaces is because it's taken up with like the plastic essentially. And the last thing I wanted to say is just you talking about that and everything and not eating bread. I saw your picture and of course I see you now. Like you look great. Like you're looking better every time I see you.
Yeah.
So
Thank
no
you.
homo.
It's okay. You can be a homo. Um, well, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I was I was feeling really drained on Saturday, this last Saturday. And I had just dropped off my kids after a week on Friday and I was just exhausted and I was fucking useless. I was like a lizard on a rock. I didn't do anything. And then I ended up at like 11 a.m. I ordered Taco Bell and I ordered like a $25 order from Taco Bell and I ate that. And then 3 hours later, I ended up going to like this Mexican restaurant and I ordered three enchiladas, three burrito tacos, and three tongue tacos, and then chips and queso, and then a side of guacamole and some pico. And anyways, when after I got done eating that, I wasn't hungry, but I was just stuffing myself nonstop. And I'm trying to think to myself, why am I doing this to myself? what
Yeah.
what is what is bothering me or what am I running from? And now being a former drug addict and realizing that I'm running from something or hiding from something, made the decisions like, okay, I'm not going to eat so I can try to figure it out. So I didn't eat until Tuesday, so I made it roughly about 68 hours, which
Nice.
was my new career high. And when I ate, I just had steak, chicken, and some pico de gallo and guacamole. And then the next day, I didn't eat. I just wasn't hungry. I don't know if like my stomach shrunk and it was like, you're good. And by the way, during this, it's a total of about 100 hours. I had one meal in 100 hours because then I went another 36 hours before I had my next meal. But um, my workouts when I was fasting were the hardest workouts of my life. And the other part of that I'm going to talk a little bit about is I, now that I'm sober from hard drugs, I overthink a lot about like what I say to people. Like, did that offend them? How did they take it? How would they respond to it? I spend a lot of time doing that. I don't have trouble sleeping, but during the day, I run it through my head a ton, right? So I I got a notebook and I just started writing on my journal. And I wrote like 10 pages in about, I don't know, 45 minutes. Just, no double space, just pouring out all my thoughts of what's going on in my life right now. And after I got done with that, I worked out for 2 hours straight. And it was the best workout of my life. So pairing that with the journaling, the fasting, and like escaping that whatever had the grip on me on Saturday, is I think what's really working for me right now. I like this morning I weighed myself at 171. So now I'm officially 54 pounds down from what I was about 2.5 years ago.
All
And
right.
it's going to continuously, go down. I'll stop at like 166 and just, start to put on muscle from there. But like today I did 11-mile hike. We ran for about 5 miles of it. So and I've done about what 28 miles this week with the fast as well. So I'm definitely on a mission. I'm not eating the best though overall. When I do eat, it's something I do have to work on, but I'm only human.
I mean, as long as you're fasting, you let your your body get rid of any toxins you're really picking up. So that's like, it's better to do that than to like eat healthy, not be fasting, and then have one day a week where you like eat unhealthy. I'd say it's better to just like almost eat all unhealthy and have like a day or two in between it or something, like my
Yes,
personal opinion. But
right.
when you're talking about the on Saturday and like the gorging, essentially,
Yeah,
that was I had the same thing going on and a lot of people around me. And we actually had a Jupiter Venus conjunction in the sign of Cancer.
that
So
motherfucker.
and that's like the vibes to it is like you gorge out on food. So I would say don't even feel bad about it. Like it probably wasn't so much about like you and lack of self-control. Like those alignments like just hit like that. And it was like I even went too far. I was like, oh my God, like why did I do that?
Yeah, it's I like being self-conscious about what I eat, and I don't necessarily do it all for how, looking better. The other part of it is I now think about, instead of how I feel when I eat, how I feel after I eat. So much so much better, because you only eat for 15 or 20 minutes, but you're now existing with that food in your stomach for the next 5 hours. Do I want to feel good for 5 hours, or do I want to feel good for 15 minutes?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I've gotten to this place now of observing my body enough and being sensitive enough to things that,
Yeah.
like after I eat, it's like I feel the difference in the way my heart's working and the way my blood's flowing as like the blood rushes to my stomach to digest it too. And then you can like see which foods work with that. So that is a big thing. And I would say with that conjunction though, even though I knew I was eating stuff that wasn't great and that usually kind of has me like down and everything, like I felt better for longer after I did have like those cheat meals on those days, which was interesting about it. So it was
Yeah.
almost like it was for the soul, like we just needed it.
You had to have your soul food.
Yeah, exactly.
How racist do you want
Oh
me to
my
get?
God. I know I'm like, dang, I wish I knew how to make some soul food. I'm like a white Midwestern boy at heart.
Did you see Nick Fuentes saying that he would love to see Candace Owens with a chicken wing,
Yeah,
holding a bucket of chicken?
he was like, it needs to be a bucket.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just gonna do something to me.
Do I want a Latina girl that makes a tortilla, or do I want an Italian girl that makes the sauce, or do I want a black girl that's gonna make me some fufu?
You know what's so funny too with this whole blow up of Nick, or like I should say like next level up, because he's been blowing up in these waves. Like the last one was the Iran war.
Yeah,
But this blow up of him, so I looked at his chart and we don't have a birth time for him. But then I worked on a birth time. I got him down as a Libra rising. I shared it with one of my astrology teachers, and he was actually blown away because he thought it was right. And we've kind of really we kept going back to it, and we are like more and more like, yeah, this is the right one. So that's something I've been getting good at is nailing down people's times. But yeah, he's a Libra rising, but he was born. We just had Mercury retrograde in Leo. He was born under a Mercury retrograde in Leo, and we saw him just blowing up over this period of the last like 2 weeks or so while it was retrograde, which is really interesting. And then back on Monday when it went direct, he pretty much had like the last like wave here of controversy that he did.
yeah.
So I just thought that was like fascinating, really really interesting how it lined up with his chart.
He's definitely blowing up. I And we talked about, fuck your feelings in April, and this is the prime example. Fuck your feelings, 100%.
And well, and you can see how detrimental he is to Trump because his what is it? His son is right on top of Trump's Mars when you put the charts up to each other. So it's like his actions take away from like the glory of Trump. So you just see it in the charts so well, and I was blown away when I saw that. That's just it's really wild to just look into the charts and see like, oh, so like this is happening. And Nick's about to hit a Saturn return once Saturn hits Taurus, so that's in like 2.5, 3 years. I think that's where he's really gonna like consolidate and be at the next level or be dead, honestly, because those
Yeah.
Saturn returns kill people. Like that's why you got the curse of like 27 with or 28, I think it is with the artist, because that's like that Saturn return hits and then it's like they die.
R.I.P. Mac Miller.
Yeah, dude, that's so sad.
You ever listen
Amy
to any Mac Miller
Winehouse
music?
too. Only one of my friends are playing it when we do like a Spotify jam.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, but I love his stuff.
Yeah, it's so sad. And there were so many different eras of his music, and he did so much music from 18 to was it 26, I think it was. And like even in some of his songs, he was foreshadowing his overdose. It's
Yeah, and I listened to it a lot with Sydney, so it reminds me of Sydney. We would be driving around and playing Mac Miller.
yeah, I love me some Mac Miller. So Sydney and I have that in common. You know,
Oh my
but
goodness.
right.
It's so it's did we ever even have a high school reunion? Because I know if we were gonna have one, it would have fallen during COVID.
That's right. I think somebody was trying to coordinate it, and I think it got to like a group of like 61, but
That's
and I
right.
and I think like that maybe more than likely a quarter of the 61 probably showed up. But I don't ever remember getting anything from the mail from Spin Lake Park themselves. Usually it's the school that organizes it, right?
Yeah, because now I remember that was on I was still on Facebook at the time, so I do
What
remember that.
would you ever go to one?
I mean, if I could find a flight for a good price, sure, I'd go. I'd have people to stay with, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Any year, it doesn't matter. Like it you would go to like what would we be at right now? 20? Would 20 be the next one?
Oh yeah, I guess
Holy shit.
unless there's like a yeah, yeah.
Holy shit.
Jeez. Yeah, because we would have just passed 15, huh?
Yeah. You gonna go?
Dang. Yeah, I mean,
You gonna
yeah,
go?
if they send it out, I'll go.
20 years, huh? Hmm. I wasn't gonna go to 10. Uh
Yeah, I mean, dang, there was a lot going on then. I'm like, even if they said, it was funny actually because I was getting all that COVID money back then, so I think I was kind of actually down to go.
oh yeah, the
But
600
it
bucks a
was,
week.
yeah, that was wild.
That was wild. Yeah, I don't God, 20 years. Hmm. I gotta think about that a little bit. I do have some time. I got 7 years to think about it.
Oh, you know what?
What?
Uh, One thing I realized about that COVID money that I never really looked into because I had friends around me who were white who weren't getting approved for the COVID money, but
Yeah.
I got instantly approved. And then like
Yeah.
I just heard someone bring it like it never clicked to me
Yeah.
because I just don't really think like that, like
Right.
off the bat, like I think about race, but just not in that way. So
Yeah.
it didn't occur to me. And yeah, like someone brought that up as like holding out on aid for COVID, like during the Biden administration for like white people versus and then like prioritizing black people and I just
Yeah.
like I sat and thought about it. I'm like, oh wow, that actually like that happened here in Nevada. Like I didn't even realize it.
Did it really?
Yeah, just insane. Yeah.
I there was no delay here, at least for me, when the time
Well, that's
came.
good.
Yeah. But I'm a quarter Lebanese, so maybe it's because I'm a quarter Lebanese. Not any of these white folk out here. Any, any of these gringos. I
Oh my goodness.
wonder where the word gringo comes from.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Is it the Hispanics that say gringo? Is that usually
Yeah.
the race that says gringo?
Hmm.
What at your family reunions, what do they call white people? Crackers?
Well, everyone's white at my family reunions.
Oh shit. Okay.
So
Crackers?
like,
Is it still crackers?
oh my goodness. Yeah, it's I mean, I don't think I've ever been up to my black side to like a family reunion. I mean, I was pretty young when I'd go there.
Okay.
And yeah, like I don't really remember them talking much about white people that much. I mean, I remember how ghetto it was, you
Okay.
know?
Right. Yeah. That might be, why maybe the family reunions didn't continue.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I think my
uh,
mom just wanted to kind of show me like where I've come from and all that and like kind of give me an idea of like what she has
what
pulled
to
me away
expect.
from. Yeah, it was so that's and that was
Yeah.
something I was thinking about today is there's this clip I'm gonna post it on my story pretty soon here, but it was of like a a well-spoken black guy like myself and just talking about how how he tried to include himself in the black community,
Hmm.
but was constantly clowned
Like an Uncle
about
Tom. Is
like
that are those the
everything.
ones that get called Uncle Tom?
Yeah, pretty much. I
Okay.
mean, some people would differentiate Uncle Tom being like someone who's constantly defending white people.
Okay.
But like there, it's there's a distinction that you can make, but most black people don't make that distinction. It's just that they'll just say it's like you're a white acting black person or something. But that was something I thought about a lot is anytime I tried to be around the black community, I was clowned for whether it was the way that I spoke, and how eloquent I spoke, or just how smart I am, or anytime recently in the last, like, we'll say like 5 to 6 years, been like pushed back against a lot of the narratives with like Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. There's never like an argument, an intellectual argument that gets engaged in with like that they engage in with me. They just clown me, and it's just like this isn't, that's just been my experience with the black community. It's so unfortunate too.
Yeah, it's a shame that the way you talk is even a topic. They're not getting to know the person. Instead, they are judging you just by the way that you are, the way that you present things, the way that you talk, the way that's so that's got to be really tough. And I think that kind of judgment is really would make me self-conscious, of the way that I am.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a big hurdle that I got through was like being openly gay, like
Hmm.
so young in high school and winning prom king. I think that helps a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That, by
but
the way, I've never really, because but you and I, we never really talked in high school a whole lot. What did you expect that?
I didn't actually.
Okay.
It was I think the only way in which I expected it was like this weird hint that Miss Tycast dropped, but it was very ambiguous. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna like just think that like that's so that I'm gonna win or something. But it was more like a confidence booster she was trying to, it seemed like at first. But then
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like, oh, like maybe she was kind of like trying to like say I was gonna win. Because they had like counted the votes early or something. I don't know.
Right.
But it was definitely surprising to me, and then like as I thought about it more, I'm like maybe it isn't surprising because I was in every social group, and like and talking with a lot of people, so that like that I feel like that endeared me to like more of like the masses of people that were voting versus the cliques.
Did you campaign?
No, no, I just
Prom king over here. Vote for me for prom king.
were people campaigning? Because I don't even
No,
remember.
nobody was campaigning for prom king.
I'm like, oh
But
Lord.
yeah, I've always been curious about that. I remember that happening, and there are different times where I just kind of I think about our past and I remember that event, but I've never really asked you about that. Do you
Yeah,
remember other details?
I remember a lot. I also that this could be another reason. I just remember this now. That I might have like expected it a little bit, but it was one of those things I just didn't want to like expect it and then not have it
Well,
happen or something.
right,
But
right.
I think I expected it a little bit because of how many people came up to me and said that they voted for me,
Okay,
from all the different social groups.
right, right. I don't even
And I
remember
think that would be
voting.
the reason that Hillary Palmer also won because she's incredibly nice.
Yeah, social butterfly, right? Just goes around and makes friends with everybody.
And that's not to say the people I was running against were, I mean, I was friends with all of them,
No, you were the
like they
best. You
were
were the
good to
best
me.
pick of the litter. It was clear, 100%. When when you won, you established that. You proved that.
Thanks, man. Well, I forgot there was one thing I was gonna say with the like kind of the black community thing. I'm trying to remember. It was I like pretty much that I try to engage at this point and oh yeah, this is what it was. That the thing that has helped is having like white people that do accept me. Because some people get in this basket of they aren't accepted by white people. Like they're white and they're black. They don't get accepted by white people. They don't
Mm-hmm.
get accepted by black people. And I feel like that's a hard situation to be in. So I completely reject this whole idea of like white people being inherently racist or never understanding like the plight of black people and all like the stuff behind it that like has black people giving their power away to like white people, doing this or that to them because through my life, those have been the people who have treated me like family, not even just my family, but in social groups, it's been white people who have like really just accepted me, like not looked at my skin color, treated me the same as everyone else. That's been my experience.
Yeah. Oh, I'm that's at least that's good that you've been accepted by different white people, and I wish that it would be the same for black people. But are you familiar with an artist named Hobson? Is a rapper.
I've heard his name, yeah.
He has a song where he says, um, "All the black kid or all the black kids said I acted too white, and all the white kids said I was too black." When he's talking about like being kind of like the name of the song is Black Sheep, so if it kind of gives you any idea of what the song's about, of him being an outcast, and that sounds actually what kind of a similar struggle. Now you're saying more white people were more welcoming, obviously, but I'm sure you did still deal with judgment. I mean, just not even because of you being black, but just being gay, openly gay. I mean, the judgment comes. It's a natural thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I kind of look to my astrology chart a little bit too sometimes and be like, well, it can be a little fun for me sometimes. I do like to trigger people and all that. But then being on World of Warcraft so young
Yeah.
as well. And like, I'm with all these like straight dudes playing.
Mm-hmm.
And like even like before I came out, it was like pretty obvious that I was gay.
Yeah.
And like they would kind of like they taught me at least how to be a man and how to like take a joke and take adversity
Yeah.
and all of that. And that helped me a lot, like moving around in high school and in middle school and all that, and not getting to this point where like, I killed myself or something.
Yeah. You
So
made it out, and look, you embrace it now.
yeah, yeah, it's just it's I mean my uniqueness is one of the things, and I don't have to tell you about that. You're an Aquarius, so it's like there's that uniqueness that comes in, and it's like one of the things that you end up loving about yourself. And
Yeah.
it's like you can't imagine just being another person
Yeah.
with the same opinions about everything. That's just repeating your programming. And yeah.
Have you seen the new Minneapolis mayor who's going to be running this fall? Have you seen that?
No, I did see some clips of that Chicago mayor though and his thing recently.
Oh man. Okay. Hold on a second here. So you remember when Minnesota changed their flag and it looks like a fucking Somalian flag?
Oh, I did see that. That's
All right.
wild.
All right. Hold on a second here. One moment. I'm not proud of this, by the way. It is kind of funny. Uh, but it's also concerning. Can't lie. Uh, okay. There we go. And you be the judge. You can tell me if I'm being racist. I don't even care. Here we go. We're gonna share the screen and we'll share sound for the hell of it. Here we go. Okay. All right. Just gonna show you this clip. Not even show you the clip. I'm just gonna show you what he looks like. So this guy out primaried Jacob Fry. Now check this
Yeah.
out. Uh, you probably remember this. Okay, so we that's the old flag. Hold on. Here we go. There we go. So this right over here are the Somalian flags, and then here is Tim Walz with the new Minnesota flag. Can you still see it?
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
Jeez.
And then a fucking Somalian. Uh, and by the way, I'm not against Somalians, but then a Somalian mayor is installed. What's the plan? And maybe I'm going a little too far, but let's stop the share. It's I, I'm honestly speechless, and it's the same rhetoric as what we're seeing with the Mamdani, and that's the other thing. If by the way, if he was Somalian and had more based ideas, of course, I wouldn't be picking on just him being Somalian, but and maybe I framed that incorrectly, but then again, I don't care. The installation of the flag, which looks like a Somalian flag, and the installation of the Somalian mayor, it's very clear. Why
Yeah,
why
and
would they out
there's
primary that other mayor? He went to all the George Floyd riots and he went to the funerals. He went to go kiss all the ass that he needed to kiss and he still got out primaried.
yeah, and that's like where it's getting weird. It's whether this is coordinated or a literal pushback by the people, but there is an alignment right now between actual radical socialists and like the whole Israel issue. And then, the Somalians are more readily able to accept a lot of the anti-Israel stuff, of course. And I'm not even saying that a lot of it is wrong per se,
Right.
but there's this alignment that's going on there. And I don't I would need to look more into Minnesota, but you saying it's connected like to the Mamdani thing, I would totally agree with that because you've got people that are anti-Israel right now. You've got the huge Somali population that can make that happen already. And so like any of them that were going to vote right, which isn't that many, you can see voting left, you can see voting for like for this guy. And we're talking about a primary anyway, but like you can see voting for this guy over the last dude
Mm-hmm.
just because like I don't even know what he said. I'm just assuming that he's probably more critical of Israel. I've one of the things I did read is that like they are talking about doing something akin to Sharia law like in those districts.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like true or not, but that would make a lot of sense. Like they, and it gets into this whole like transplanting populations and having them not wanting to assimilate, but just like, live here the way that they lived back where they came from. And, like of course there's like part of that that's great, bring your culture with you, but the whole idea of America is that we all have a common culture
Mm-hmm.
and then we bring parts of our culture with
Yeah.
us.
You integrate it eloquently. You don't just walk into a university and, stand on the toilet and shit everywhere just because you don't want your ass to touch the toilet. That's not a simulation. That's entitlement. At least that's how our culture perceives it. And by the way, if I were to go to an Asian country and not bow, instead I would just to say thank you, they would say to me that I'm rude. That culture would then, because I didn't follow the culture of the area that I'm in. And that's just me saying thank you. That's not me shitting all over a fucking toilet because I don't want to stand. I don't want my ass cheeks to touch the toilet seat. It was a big issue at Anoka Tech when Somalians were kind of first coming to Anoka Tech. They weren't sitting on the toilets because they didn't believe in that.
Oh yeah, geez.
That's fucking crazy. That should be like
Jeez.
part of coming here is like, hey, this is how we go to the bathroom. How didn't we figure this out earlier? And by the way, what does your house look like? Do you stand on your toilet at your house? If you have to share it with others, like what do you do?
Yeah, and then there's like kind of that thing with like Indians and like they like don't wash one hand or something. But that like there's
Uh,
like a hand that they wipe with. I forgot exactly how it goes, but there's like a hand that they like wipe their ass with. But like apparently they like and like someone articulated this very well, so I'm not just like spreading some, and this
yeah,
isn't
no,
going to be
no,
all
you're
Indian,
fine.
of course, but like
Yeah.
but they'll like I guess like they won't use like toilet paper and they'll like wash it with their hand, but then
Mm-hmm.
like there's like this weird thing about like where they're like bringing that like and then they're preparing food and all that stuff. And this is more in India though.
Yeah.
I should bring that up, but then you see some people bring that here, but it's definitely not the vast majority of it, vast majority of Indians or anything. um, I was gonna ask you, since I did that kind of that socialism red pill the last time we spoke, have you noticed more things with the socialist like phrases and stuff?
Not a whole lot. Um, but I'm sure it's out there. Are you going to cite some examples?
No, I was just wondering because you brought up the that new mayor that's running that got through the primary and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's clear there's some sort of installation. I mean, the flag says it all, honestly. And we don't talk about who funds these different campaigns. And by the way, the whole idea of funding campaigns is just also nuts. That also blows my mind. I was going to ask you a question. Have you ever used a bidet?
No, it's I and now I know that you can get them and just install them in your toilet if it doesn't have
Yeah.
it. So
So
it's actually on my list. I was gonna get one soon.
I shot a podcast earlier today with a friend from Pittsburgh who has never even heard of a bidet. But I have a situation going on at my house right now where they're doing some construction and they had to shut the water off today for the construction. And so I was thinking to myself because I was going to go over to my buddies a little bit later to go hiking today. And I was like, I really can't, use the toilet. So maybe I can use my friend's toilet. But my friend has a bidet. And I've never used a bidet before. Is it weird to use your friend's bidet? I did,
I
by
don't
the
think
way,
so.
PS, I didn't even go to the bathroom there. Uh, it turned out I didn't have to, but more, I just don't know if that's even polite.
That's the thing. It's like I would maybe have someone offer it before I would do it because I don't know what the etiquette is on that, but I would think it's like, it's not like you're touching like the spigot or anything, like it's shooting it up there. So, like I would think that's like cool,
It's a
but
little bit of a violation, though, in a way. Like this stream of water, you know, come is on the verge of penetrating my friend every single day, and now it's gonna almost
right.
penetrate me. Do I
It
want to
doesn't
share
feel
that
like
moment on this
proper
toilet
etiquette.
seat?
It feels if it doesn't feel like proper etiquette, but I'm like kind of like I don't know. That's a hard one.
Yeah, I'm still fighting with it. I do want to try one someday, but where? I don't want to install one. I guess
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where I'll just look from afar for the rest of my life and just kind of fantasize about using one.
Well, it's so funny. It was like I think my I've already kind of had my eye on them for maybe a year, but I just thought, "Oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later." And then on one of my astrologer specials, talking about the Three Eye Atlas object coming in, that's incredible. The astrology of it and just what we think about it. But he ended up going on this 30-minute tear about like how he'll like never go back to not having a bidet. It's not like, oh, okay, like maybe I should like finally like pony up and get
I hear it's
it.
nice. I hear it's really nice.
Yeah, it was like, well, apparently it's life changing.
Just like mushrooms. They go hand in hand, a
Right.
bidet and mushrooms.
Use it for the first time while you're on mushrooms.
There's an idea.
But yeah, that Three Eye Atlas is it's coming in through. We connected it to a lot of Pleiadian stuff. Have you kind of gotten in
So
that realm?
so is this a meteor you're talking about, or is this a ball of energy, or what is this Atlas thing? What is
It's an object, and the way it's reflecting light and then like apparently not leaving a trail as of now
is
is
this the one
making me think
that's
it's artificial.
is this the one that's on course to hit Earth in like 2028 or something like that?
I don't know if it's gonna come near.
Okay. Is it
So
okay? So before you go on, we are around the time of Nibiru, are we not? Is this a potential Nibiru watch?
yeah, that's like the thing too, like Nibiru and Planet X and all of that.
Before
I
before we go deeper in, I'll just explain Nibiru and Planet X. Um, so supposedly it's actually written in like an emerald tablet or something like that, is it not? There's some sort of documented history about another planet appearing in the sky, which turned out to be the Anunnaki, who were essentially sent here the first time to somehow advance humans to the point where we now ha- have the ability to mine gold and sustain civilization. But this planet that comes around, which supposedly has the Anunnaki on it, is every however whatever the cycle is. And now that you're mentioning seeing a reflective object heading this way, I heard something about we are in the time frame of Planet X.
Yeah, it's seeming to line up pretty well. Apparently, Planet X is supposed to come pretty near the age of Aquarius, which is, it's 2150, but there's kind of that margin for error. And I would
Oh
say
yeah,
that it's about 100-year margin for error right there in those vast time, because you're not just looking at each of those ages and how long, you're looking at the overall of the 14,000 years.
yeah.
And then that's very much, 100 years is a pretty reasonable margin for error
It's
there.
not a lot of
And
time
that's just if you want
considering.
to, yeah, so it's like there's something coming here soon. You keep getting these articles about like we're gonna see supernovas in the sky. Biblically and like in a lot of other religions, they say like when that happens, we have these events. The thing about Planet X and Nibiru is that it caused these Earth changes. I think as we get closer, we're gonna see more Earth changes because we're already seeing them like really ramp up, and the astrology really mirrors this. But it's coming in through, it would be like right around like the area of Scorpio. So even astrologically, it's coming in through the underworld, and then it's going to leave through the heavens. And we view it as like this kind of upgrade that's coming. And that's besides like whatever is even on it. You've got all of these different blocks of the UFO community that are intelligence, whether it's Lou Elizondo, Avi Loeb, and all these people seeding certain narratives around it. So it's almost like it's gonna deliver something, and I would even argue on the really fringe that a Muamua and its coincidence with COVID, there's a connection there, you know.
Speaking of
But
UFOs,
yeah.
continue. Did you have another point?
Uh Really I was just gonna say what we're thinking is it's eventually going to start leaving debris, and we view that as, because it's leaving right out at the Pleiades.
Hmm.
And what woke up a lot of people through the 90s, 2000s, like all the way up to now, is the Pleiadian teachings of Barbara Marciniak. Like a huge number of people were awakened by that, and she talks about this exact thing happening and how it facilitates DNA upgrades. That would make a lot of sense with why they've been so obsessed with trying to get in and tamper with our DNA with the vaccines, because they
Right.
know that this is coming in. And then it will allow us to perceive more. You could talk about the Akashic records and how we'd be able to tap in with that, like if we actually have the energetics for it. Like this is a whole deep thing you could really get into in different ways. But like on the physical level, just like it's going to come close to all of the inner planets and like just brush right by them all. It's going to leave like a trail in its wake. It's going to be visible, as far as I know, during the daytime too, but also at night. It's going to be that bright, and just off of what we're seeing now and the light that it's giving off, which makes them think it's some type of a artificial thing. But also if it's like a planet that's got life on it or something, if you want to bring up the Planet X thing, that would make sense. If they have structures that are built on it, they'd be giving off that light, and whatever else they could be doing with it. But we think that as the Earth moves into that debris field and takes that in, that's what kind of facilitates a lot of these upgrades that we feel you get from the sun. And another reason why they didn't want people in the sun during COVID after they took the vaccine, because it's one of the ways it can heal your DNA. And we could talk about the detoxing of the heavy metals and all that stuff and the different things, but there is an attack on our genetics. And it's almost like they know
100%.
that there is some type of thing coming in that's going to give us an upgrade.
100%. Speaking of odd UFO things and the timing of it all, as usual, uh, Rogan had that Florida congresswoman on yesterday, and
Yeah.
she went scorched earthed on the whole alien thing. Like, usually these government officials will go on a podcast and they'll kind of speak around the point. This woman, who, by the way, total smoke show, uh,
Oh, yeah.
she went, she pretty much gave out details that I don't think any of us have ever heard from somebody in that position before. Did you listen a whole lot to that? I've never even heard her name or seen her before, and all of a sudden now she appears on the world's biggest podcast with arguably one of the most talked about episodes of his over like the last 6 months.
I was gonna give it a listen tonight, so but I haven't even seen any clips about it yet. I
Okay.
saw a couple exchanges about it
Yeah.
on X, but I've been following her for a long time though, so I do like her. But
She's very awake. I'll give her that. I mean, some of the things that she was speaking on, it was like talking to you. She was very up to date on the things that we talk about. So yeah, give it a listen. Wasn't bad.
yeah, I think with her, her heart's in the right place and all that stuff. And you can see that because she set up that whole like hearing recently that was gonna happen, and then all the people
He
and
called in
some of which,
sick.
yeah, yeah, and one
Yeah.
of them was Lou Elizondo, who I was just talking about, you know.
Right.
And so like they know that they're not able to get stuff past her. So she's definitely going in the right direction. I think it's important for her to, and she may go into it in the episode, but really knowing the history of what we call X protect and X share,
Hmm.
like the people that want to protect all the information around the UFOs, around the exotic technology, all of that linking back to Trump and Tesla, which is what puts Trump on the even playing field, which is why we saw the attack on him when he got in because they didn't know what was going to be released because his uncle knew it all and he gave it all to him. And
Yep.
then Roy Cohn like mentored him. We've been through all this and stuff, but then yeah, there's that X protect and then there's the X share, the people who want to actually share it with the collective. And I think when she kind of is, once she gets into a lot of that deeper stuff and how it ties to JFK, but she is kind of getting into that. I've heard her talk about that.
Hmm.
But just understanding the power players and the factions has been, I think, the biggest hurdle she has to get over. But she wants the truth and she's doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on board right now. I enjoyed watching it. For a multitude of reasons.
I'm hoping that Joe brings on Daniel List, dark journalist,
Okay.
because he's been on Alex Jones a few times now. He's definitely gaining traction, and I've followed him for over 10 years.
Okay.
He's like when I can get into like all of these deep things and drop names on
Yeah.
who's guarding the UFO file and make these connections. It's because of his work, you know, and the people he's interviewed, like Catherine Austin Fitts and Joseph Farrell, which we had watched that one clip of him
Yeah.
recently, kind of talking about that with Dark Journalists.
Right.
So, but like I really hope that that was the precursor of Joe bringing on dark journalists because it would just be incredible because he could connect to every single thing that Anna Paulina Luna, even though I haven't seen it yet, is talking about. It
Right.
would just be incredible.
That'd be very cool. I agree. And the other guest that he needs to have on again is Alex Jones.
Yeah, another good episode with Alex Jones.
It's been
He's
way too
starting
long.
to inch towards having Nick Fuentes on. Someone called Nick Fuentes like a white supremacist or a Holocaust denier is what it was. And then he was just like, wait, so are you saying that he denies it ever happened or that he disputes the numbers? And the dude like shifted away from it. And then like there was some follow up too where they kind of like pulled it up. It made look the dude look really bad. But
Right.
but that's kind of like I'm like, oh, is he gonna have Nick on soon? Because you can't ignore it, especially after what just happened. I'm like, got to be getting like gearing up to have Nick on the show.
Man, I don't ever see that happening.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's just me being a little bit faithful about. But what I do like is
Yeah.
that he didn't jump on the bandwagon of just
Right.
disparaging Nick.
Joe doesn't disparage anybody unless they've publicly burned him in some way. But you know, as a whole, I mean, even like Kamala Harris, he's like, yeah, just come on the show. He wasn't in any way judgmental towards her or anything. He said, I just want to talk to her. And it's like the same way about Nick or even Andrew Tate. He'll never say that he dislikes somebody or whatnot. He'll say maybe he doesn't disagree with somebody. But he won't tarnish their name. And he would always be willing to have them on if, you know, stars aligned correctly, obviously. But
Yeah, and has he had Andrew Tate on the show?
no, no. Patrick Beck David had Andrew Tate on a couple times, and I guess PBD is gonna have Nick Fuentes on too.
I just saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made me think of it when you said that.
I love
I
Patrick
haven't
Beck
watched
David.
PBD in so long, you know, like
He's
because
good. He's really good.
it, yeah, I love him and everything. I just hadn't watched him in so long because it was like I have to pick and choose, and there were things he wasn't covering that there were people covering it and the stuff he was covering. So I was like, well, I gotta like shift over here for a bit. But I always liked him. I love Vinny, and I love all the stuff that he does on the side too.
what what's your opinion on Trump taking over DC?
You know,
And by the
I would
way, the Smithsonian is somehow tied into this. You
oh
saw that too,
great.
right?
I didn't know.
Well, all the left wing mainstream media sites are headlines read Trump is trying to change history. Apparently, Trump wants to look into the Smithsonian and see if it's legit.
Interesting.
Dinosaur bones. Come on.
See,
Tell me the
and this
dinosaurs
is the
weren't real.
thing where there's so much going on behind the scenes.
I
It's
know.
tough because,
Yeah.
like I sit and I look at it, and usually I would be like, yes, this is amazing, and this is kind of to mirror a point that Nick made, but it's like really, I'm feeling like this about everything right now that Trump does that is based. It's like, yeah, but like Israel's kind of like really like got a
Yeah.
stranglehold on us. So how is this going to be used ultimately? Because he was able to get all the schools. I think it was Columbia University. Like they just lost this lawsuit for like millions of dollars, and so they have to pay out like 231 million, I think is the number, to all these professors and like the people on campus and all this for the anti-Semitism and the protests
Oh,
that were
geez.
going on. And they have to accept, and this is, Trump like held the funding from them like during all of this.
Yeah.
But then they also have to accept an approved person, like an ADL approved person who's going to be on campus and going to look over all of their Middle Eastern teachings and studies and make sure like it has to be approved by this person. And they're going to have guards, like security guards that are on a rotating basis that are also need to be like ADL approved, and they'll stop, and they have arrest powers to stop people from like doing also like essentially protesting on
That's too
campus, like
far.
for it's too much, yeah. But and then this is besides all the visa stuff and the people who have been sent back for being critical of Israel. And this isn't even all just visa holders. So this is where it gets kind of like, okay. Like usually I'd be like, okay, they're a visa holder. They're not a citizen. They need to be on their best behavior here. They can't be like stoking and all that stuff. So like they don't have the full rights of a citizen. But it's like when it's for the interests of Israel and that's the only way it's being enforced, I'm not about it. So to bring it back, like that's kind of how I feel about it is like on in theory I like it. Let's just hope it's not used to only serve Israel.
Well, look at all the Black Lives Matter riots. They destroyed all these cities, and the college kids can't protest. They get arrested. They get sent back to other countries for protesting. This is the problem I have with Trump, and this is, and again, it's the as you were saying, it's in the interest of Israel, and that's why even today I'm not going to hold back on what I say about Israel anymore because why aren't people allowed to be critical of Israel yet like Black Lives Matter movements are allowed to tear down cities? What would by the way, what would happen if there was a Palestinian protest that burned down the city of Minneapolis again? You would never see it because it would never be allowed. So the idea of free protest doesn't actually exist. That's exactly the move that Trump made. And by the way, here we go again with a slippery slope because back in I forgot who made this point back in the early 2000s, you had like the radical parties, like the Tea Party, where they're like smaller government, and it was like super conservative groups of political groups. And then there was like the health groups, and like they were really putting the pressure on Congress quite a bit, right? And then all of a sudden, we can we can distract the people from focusing on like legitimately important issues like less government, less taxes, and now they made the topics of like abortion that are incredibly divisive, but what does it do to the overall humanity of the United States? We argue about it like it's one of the most important points, but half by the way, half the population doesn't have to deal with that. So it's not actually one of the most important points. It's not. It's worth being heard, but it's not a topic to be divisive over so much. There are nuances to it that are important, yes, but overall, we've lost the citizens have lost the motivation to pressure people in Congress and instead it's been turned against, where now the people argue with each other instead of the people put pressuring Congress to make decisions in favor of the people. It's so evident.
Yeah, and you know, you can because so many people now are focused, and this is why I have my big thing I always talk about. Like, I don't really vote on social issues as most people would term them, when it comes to like identity issues and things like that. Because most of the time, I mean, in my life, what I've seen over the years, having followed politics from a very young age, I see these social issues get dangled in front of you to fight over. And then half of the time, like 80% of the time, it's a nothing burger. Like they're talking about overturning gay marriage right now in the Supreme Court and all that stuff. And
Yeah, I saw that.
like, besides how I feel on respecting Christianity and not necessarily having gay marriage, but having an akin to it, which we have, which is a domestic partnership. Besides even all that, like if you put all that out of the picture, it's like, is this really just being used to like scare people? Because I see like
Yeah.
gay people around me freaking out about it, and it's like, wow, way to like totally waste your prana on something that like really ultimately like we need to be looking at the deeper stuff going on. Like, we can have fun with all the social issues after, but we're gonna like get to this point where we lose our country, where you're gonna like miss when we could fight over social issues, because we can only like allow there to be this fight over these types of social issues while people can still have a prosperous life. And it's like we're just losing more and more and more of that. As the boomers die off, a lot of them aren't leaving their wealth to the millennials and to the Gen Xers. They're just not. And you know, like we already know the boat that the Gen Zers are in right now. So it's like that money is going into a lot of nonprofits, because the boomers will do it as an FU to their kids, like because they didn't earn it. So they'll go to nonprofits, which we just found out are a lot of like the NGOs that are part of, like
Yeah.
you said, and all that.
Right.
So it's like it's just getting funneled back into the corporations, into the government, into the laundered money. And there's just this huge wealth extraction that's about to take place. And people just are not ready for what's going to happen. And then they're going to be like, wow, why did I focus on these social issues? And like the last thing I'll say is this is what's in the astrology as far as the lockdown that's going on there. And I said this to you a couple of times now, is that we're like entering lockdown energy, whether there is the thing on foreign or on our soil that we're talking about that's going to prompt, like drills, like bombs coming, drills, we need to do that. But it seems like the East Coast is, like, astrologically speaking, the worst that gets hit during this. But they'll essentially be implementing lockdowns. Like, that's going to be the thing, and that could be why Trump is like kind of doing this third term thing, talking about it, because under emergency powers, and Dark Journalist talks about this, under continuity of government. First of all, like, he would kind of just be a figurehead, and then there'd be the continuity of a government person that takes over, who is part of like NORAD and all of that. So it's like the NORAD, the person at the top of NORAD would be like the new president per se. We have this talk of the Golden Dome coming in, which is kind of mirroring the Golden Age. So it's all clicking together for some paradigm shift where we are going to be more locked down. We're going to have digital ID. We're going to have digital currency. Everything that we do online, you see this being rolled out in the UK, is going to be tracked, and we're going to need to have an ID for what we're doing online. And like, they're really trying to get in this control grid. It's tying in perfectly with the 3i Atlas coming in, and we talked about like this whole shift it's going to do energetically to us. So, what are they really trying to push down from coming up, especially as we found all of these Egyptian ruins, Hall of Record type things, which is very interesting.
All I can say is, yeah. I mean, there's just so much to it, and there's so much, like you said, there's so much chaos and there's so much happening right now. It's hard to pinpoint what the actual goal is, but what you're saying about digital currency and digital ID, social credit score, it's coming. We've discussed on this show before about how money is on the verge of becoming meaningless because of automation. I think
Yeah.
there was some CEO or some executive in Amazon, that chief nerd on X, just posted saying by 2030 Amazon will be 100% robotic. No more factory workers, no more drivers. A human won't touch that package until the person that buys it gets to touch that package. So where's
Yeah.
the money? How are people going to afford homes and
I
afford
think
to
that we're going to have
live?
I think we're going to have two separate financial systems. I think there's going to be universal basic income, which people will have, of course, given to them, but then there will be stipulations on what you can use it on. So
And that's
probably
where the
not
control is.
investments of any sort. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it would have to be on the approved items that are for your needs and everything, and like that's all that you can spend it on. You need to spend it all in that month, or else it just like gets wiped away. I think it's pretty much going to be like that, so a type of welfare state. So then you have that kind of financial system, which won't allow for any growth for people, and then the people that have existing money with no guards on it, whether it's like that's through crypto and like the new CBDCs and all that stuff. And they're going to have to be wise with that and be able to generate more income from within that financial system. I think there's a huge bifurcation of humanity that's going on right now. I think even the Bible talks about it, separating the wheat from the chaff. But like, and there are going to be the people that are able to create, exchange that money, grow that money within that ecosystem. And this is just in the astrology too, like 2026 into 27 is, Pluto is like around power investment, like especially with the people being in Aquarius, it's going to be at opposition with Jupiter, and that's going to be in Leo. So, like there's going to be this whole push and pull and tug of like, how am I relying on myself to get my resources and able to like use the collective at the same time to share in that wealth? And there will be both of these fall into that energy, both of these like different financial tracks and ecosystems, but obviously one is more favorable, the latter one I spoke about. And so this is the shift people are getting into, like podcasting and being able to provide things like me with my astrology, just having some unique niche and having investments that you can fall back on so that you can get the ball rolling when that time comes and when all these mass layoffs start.
Yeah, you and I are at a head start at this very time because there's going to be some scrambling happening, and it's going to be important to be building that base right now. It's the same thing, even, getting early on anything. If you stay persistent, you'll notice the progress, and then before you know it, you're, a few sections up on the pyramid, so to speak. And it is what is, I think, a positive outlook on what you're saying about people finding their own creative niche in order to survive rather than working for a corporation just to survive. It then allows people to have the chance to express themselves in a way that would then maybe make them actually happy, because there's so many people that, and I'm a prime example of this, and I've talked about it before. I chased money through my 20s, like that's all that mattered to me, but I wasn't happy. I was just chasing money. It didn't matter what the job is, as long as it paid me a lot, then I was fine. But I'm now realizing that, by the way, the more money you make, the more bills you have. It's not like you're doing any better in any way. You're just more stressed out. As South Park would say, your nut is bigger. I don't know if you saw that episode or not. Um, but uh, getting back to the point, money is a byproduct of the dream that you're chasing. The dream that you're chasing, whether it be freedom or, for you, astrology readings because you're super passionate about it. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you're passionate of it. The money comes as the byproduct. The money is a result of that passion. And maybe the money isn't going to generationally change, your family's life as far as a living situation goes, but what it can do generationally is carry maybe more. What would be the inverse of a generational trauma? Generational positivity in some way, with as your generations continue, and whether or not you ever have kids, that's a different subject, but you're putting your stamp, your little clump of energy, your stamp on chasing what made you happy, and that will still carry on within the, I would say, your family in some way. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and like maybe my as my niece and nephew get older, they hear me talking about it, and that's something they
Correct.
want to pick up, like just passing on that vocation like we used to do
It's the
that
impact you're
created like
making.
such great wealth in this
Mm-hmm.
country.
Yeah, it's a very special thing, and I myself, I'm grateful that I really did begin chasing my dreams when I came back from Costa Rica, because By the way, the first dream that I thought it was that I wanted wasn't the dream I wanted, and I would have never known that had I not tried to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think this Mercury retrograde's been very good with that too. It's highlighting authenticity, creativity, all of those things. And then now that it's out of retrograde, we're still in the shadow period. So it's like the next 2 weeks we really integrate that. Like for me, it was about because I have heavy Virgo energy, so my daily routine like needs to be the same. I had to do huge shifts to my daily routine so that I could give myself the time to be starting to put videos out there and really do, because I'm working within all these communities, doing great things, attracting clients, but it's like I need something to really put out there, like in a 10th house way, especially as I have 10th house transits. It's like, okay, this is the perfect time. And that was like what it highlighted for me. And I think a lot of people are getting these realizations of like, what is authentic in my life? What is not authentic? But what is not like in this highest truth? And you're just seeing them kind of be like, if they're not noticing, which it's being made very obvious, like this is just as a collective reading, it's being made obvious in everyone's life right now, like who shouldn't be in their lives, what shouldn't be in their lives. And like you can either get rid of it now or by the time like January, February rolls around, it gets kind of ripped away as we hit, because now we're going through these lunar cycles of the eclipses and all that stuff. And that's just it's putting in all the change, whether it's by force or the change that you want. And then all this that started with like the whole, if you want to call it the lionscape, but like the Leo new moon that we had, all of that goes to the opposite side of the Aquarius, the opposite side of the zodiac, the Aquarius new moon, where it's like locking in. So it's like the work that we do now, because it's been hard to get a lot of motion this year based on the astrology. Now it's a lot easier, and we get that for a few months until like late January, early February. And it's really setting us up for the next few years and the huge changes that are coming in.
What do you see as far like if you could put a prediction that you would feel most confident about putting out there as far as the changes that are coming, what would it be? What do you feel most confident about?
Hmm. Yeah, I've definitely got a few that are, and this would be like with mundane astrology, just looking at the outer planets, what's happened in the past. I think a huge technological leap is being rolled out that we'll see in the next year and a half.
We're already kind of seeing it with Palantir, the integration within the administration and beginning of, as you were saying, the whole digital ID thing. That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, and I think things popping off in the Middle East, and just based off of the alignments, like it coming here to the US in some type of more controlled way, whether
Yeah.
it's inflicted upon us by our own intelligence agencies to scare us and to enforce more rules on us and take more of our liberties or something like that. But I think that this technology rollout is going to have us giving up liberties for great technology that we're going to see, and it's going to be very like wonderful to us. We'll be like, whoa, like we have this, we have that. I think you can tie this in with the 3 Eye Atlas. They're putting all of that stuff out there because they've been waiting to all this technology they've been working on in secret. They need to find a way to bring it back in, but they don't know how to explain that they've been working on it since like the 40s, and I would say even before that. But they don't know how to like explain like, oh yeah, like we've got some pretty incredible stuff and like we've been keeping it from you guys. But like, so they need, this is where the alien threat thing comes from. So like there's some part of that going on into it, but a convergence of energy that's going to create this artificial system around the AI and all that stuff, and Neuralink implants, getting vaccinated, anything that's going to like mess with you developing your own like intuition, spiritual abilities, and all that, because that's just the energy we're coming into. People are becoming more awakened to that again. And then the people that are actually developing those abilities, doing the shadow work, going back to, how can we sustain and support one another and not be dependent on a gigantic system that is like artificial in nature and that only takes our energy and siphons our energy. There's that, but definitely see like some type of conflict by February popping off and really like just beginning this. Like things are kind of starting to cool off now.
Mm-hmm.
Planets are going to retrograde back in. We get a little bit of the old energy as we initiated a lot of these shifts. And as
Yep.
that old energy comes back, we have the eclipse season. And so it's like, oh, like, so this is what I was kind of dealing with. And what I saw the sneak peek of how my life can be. Okay, like let's fix this and this and that. and set these clear boundaries in my life, especially during like Scorpio season, and then really get the ball rolling and get ready for this new thing.
Do you find yourself adjusting because you read up on this and you're up to date on it? Do you feel yourself adjusting maybe either your routine or your mood depending on what you foresee occurring, during that week or during that day, or when you follow these things like new moons and different energies, colliding, does that impact the way that you act?
I'd say it impact probably yes, because it's we try to at least like in the way that I've been taught is this which isn't it's not actually very popular in astrology, but being able to power through transits like more like if there's a transit that's calling on certain things around the daily routine, but you have like this obligation, that obligation and all that, understanding that like you can power through it. You can kind of say F the astrology and really like and power through these things. It's just going to be a lot harder.
Right.
So there are times where you can make those choices, and on top of it, the type of math I have to run in my head and the amount of things I have to keep track of with it. Most people can't really do that. So there are things I'm like, oh well, like this is happening. These eight different things are happening, and these are going to be the themes that come up. I'm going to focus on these three, because I can tell that this is where I'm having a problem. And then, like, and especially if I'm pulling like some tarot cards with it. So it's not all colored by my own perception of like what I want to do and what's most comfortable and easy, and really be like, okay. And that's been the biggest breakthrough is breaking through the hard things with a combination of that stuff. Because I wouldn't even admit to myself it's a problem until I like see the transits and pull some cards on it. And I'm like, okay, but
Yeah.
I don't believe in giving up all my free will to it, but I
Right.
definitely think it's created a net positive in my life for making the changes I need, especially as a Taurus and Virgo ascendant who hates change.
Speaking of shit popping off, Trump goes to Russia tomorrow to negotiate a deal. And
Yeah.
he said at the podium when he was taking questions, I'll know in the first 2 minutes. And then the reporter says, how? He goes, because I make deals. That's what I do. And the room chuckled. Um, you think a deal gets done tomorrow? Whether or not it's a false flag or not, whatever. You think we hear more Nobel Peace Prize lobbying throughout the weekend into Monday because there's a deal made tomorrow?
Hmm. I'm trying to just think.
By
I've
the
heard a
way,
couple of different things. Oh yeah.
leave out the Israel stuff because the mainstream media and everybody in power doesn't fucking care about it. If Trump does resolve Russia, Ukraine on the surface, that would be Nobel Peace Prize worthy.
Yeah, and I mean we're really for the next 2 weeks, we're under good alignments as far as the astrology goes. It makes me think that there's already kind of this is just for show essentially, and there's already kind of been a deal made.
Yeah.
The way it's kind of getting hyped up, this is kind of the inclination that like Nick Fuentes and some others are giving to, is that it looks like it's going to be a positive thing. I just don't think he would go there if there wasn't some kind of good thing going on. He already sent envoys,
Yeah.
you know. I definitely see there being, yeah, like good news around it. But as with everything, it almost feels like it's gonna be bittersweet. Like there's gonna be something in the sandwich that we just don't want. Like,
As there always is. They give you a little bit and then they take some.
yeah,
And
and it's I don't know, like because there's I still don't feel like we know everything about Iran, and I'm wondering like what it just intuitively to me feels connected to Iran, like the Ukraine stuff. I just found out Ukraine holds the most Bitcoin of any country, so there's that.
over America?
Yeah.
No
After
shit.
I apparently like I don't know if this is like if we had more before we sold all that Bitcoin,
Yeah.
or not, but I know that that's who currently holds the most Bitcoin is Ukraine, and that kind of is like,
So,
on top of the biolabs
and
and
then the
everyone.
crypto capital of the world, self-proclaimed crypto capital of the world is the US, which is going to go defend Ukraine. And by the way, another thing, if they are the leader in Bitcoin and they have all this money, which by the way, they have a fuck ton of money, they have a fuck ton of cash. Um, these cities are getting destroyed. Is this the implementation of smart cities in Ukraine as well? Is that also maybe part of, let's call it the New World Order? You know, you have Israel's influence, but is then Ukraine technically like that American stronghold that can stay on the border of Russia?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting with the smart cities because it's just across the board. You see like just the destruction of cities, and they're like, oh well, we have this great idea for a new city. Like let's like make it next level, and like Dubai is like ready to. I mean, besides what of it is already type like a type of smart city, it's like pretty much ready to. It's modularly ready to upgrade to a full smart city. You've got the whole thing in California, Lahaina. They're like, hey, let's make it a smart city and all that. And I'm forgetting what the second part of your. I was focused on the door. What the second part of your question was with that?
With the US on the border of Russia now, they implement what are the chances of that being implemented as a smart city, especially with all the money and all the Bitcoin? Again, these aren't things that are coincidental. Why would Ukraine have the most Bitcoin in the world? It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of stuff starts from Ukraine. I know there was a news, not even like a news article, but a couple things in connections that this is kind of like my deep researcher, political astrologer guy. He went into like it's interesting that they like brought out the Wuhan news with China and how it came from there, how they brought it out so easily and so readily, and then they're finding out afterwards that that may have really like came from Ukraine. And then of course we know about like the biolabs and all that stuff. So I lean more towards that. It's almost like everything that they can't do because it's going to be tracked in the US, they do there. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the first place they do it because it's almost like they test it there first. They do it there first, and then they're like, or they launder the money there first. There's so much where that becomes like this anchor of power and of shady power too.
Yeah. Yeah, Ukraine's been crooked all this time. And we just like Israel, we defend it as a nation. Half of us do just because we were taught to hate Russia so much. It's the same thing when you listen to Hitler's speeches in English. You listen to him and you're like, oh, huh, that doesn't sound so bad. It's the same thing with Putin too. When you hear the Putin speeches, it's like, wait, so he's against the Western world with the way that we, mutate genders and a lot of the, as we talked about before, the queer socialism and all these things that, by the way, all of us, half, at least 55-60% of America agrees with is what Putin is saying. Like if that was an American president's speech, that would be the president of our country.
Yeah, it's making me think of. I know this will kind of seem off topic, but the you just saying that it kind of like brought up like biblical stuff, and then I'm thinking of the timing of it with that episode. Did you see that there was an episode with like Tim Pool about the red heifer and like they sacrificed it?
I did not see that. No.
Yeah, there's this like I mean the guy looked like a Nazi propaganda poster. He was just like that stereotypically Jewish who came
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
And then like Tim Pool was apparently sick that day, which was yesterday. And then it's funny because I had a dream that night that had Tim Pool in it, and I like don't even watch him anymore.
Right.
But I had a dream about it, so like it kind of like stood out to me even more. But the guy came on and he had like ashes, and he's like, these have been like distributed, like out of like the how many cows were sacrificed, like one of them like was distributed amongst people, and they're sprinkling ashes on people. It's already like cured blindness and gotten people to walk again and all this stuff. And I just find that to be like really interesting timing with Trump meeting up there, the things I'm finding out recently, like of course Russia like sides against Israel and like a lot of stuff on the surface, but then you kind of dig down deeper and they are a bit more aligned with Israel than it seems.
Hmm.
So it kind of gets into this like false light awakening and all the way back to that point of like, are they trying to, well, not are they trying to, because they are, but like how are they controlling this narrative to make it look like people are taking their power back?
Which would be
And
why they
then that
didn't
there's
help
like
defend Iran, right?
yeah, and that's the thing too. And I mean, Nick, this is why I love Nick because his coverage. I mean, this was the peak of his viewership, and he almost hit that again with the Tucker stuff. He got really close to hitting it, but he went into like an hour tear on Russia and like how they could be helping, what they could be doing with all of this stuff, and especially after Ukraine sent all those suicide bomber drones and then I guess that was from inside Russia too. So it's like a lot of weird stuff at all these different factions of intelligence that are well, they've just broken away. It's a breakaway civilization. They've broken away. We have no idea what they're doing. They're not accountable to anyone. And they're
Speaking of,
zealots. They're religious zealots.
yeah, speaking of breakaway civilizations, that's like New Schwaben's land in Antarctica.
Yeah, New Schwabenland.
Uh, we don't have enough time to
Apparently
really
there
get
was
into
like
that, but I
I
just
guess it
wanted
was
to
a at
drive
least
by.
19. Yeah, drive by. There was a 19-year-old who just like was trying to fly to all the continents and he landed in Antarctica and then like
He
he
got
was
turned
like
around.
jailed for I guess he was jailed for like 2 weeks or something like and
Good.
then they ended
Set
up
that
letting
fucker
him
straight.
go. Right. Can't
Yeah.
have him seeing the ice wall now.
Yeah. Yeah. Get out of here. What you
But
doing?
they ended up letting him go with a fine, but he was just trying to like hit a world record and he didn't even land there on purpose. He was forced to land there
Huh.
because of something that happened with the plane. But I was like, oh wow, that's interesting.
It's so interesting. Have you seen the how like the moon reflects the earth? Like what we see on the moon is just the reflection of the earth. So
Oh, I've
basically like the shadow of earth is on the moon and it's what we think are the craters on the moon. But what's
oh,
weird,
that's interesting. That makes
but
sense.
what's weird is there's all the dark mass around it. So there's other land that the sun just doesn't hit right now because it's just the rotation of the sun. It's a expanded earth. uh I got into the whole flat earth thing for quite a while and I'm sitting at like 32%, uh that it could be a flat earth. I'm also sitting at like maybe 10% that it could be hollow, and then the rest is that it is a globe. But I really
Yeah,
do strongly believe that there are lands and maybe civilizations beyond the walls. The whole ice wall thing is very, very weird. And anybody that gets close either gets arrested or turned around by military. And
yeah,
by the way, it's the only treaty of all treaties that every single country on this fucking earth agrees to, is they agree that Antarctica's off limits. Every country agrees on that.
yeah. It's shady, and there's even just Admiral Richard Byrd,
Mm-hmm.
and he went not only just to the South Pole but the North Pole too.
He did both of them. Yep.
And the things he saw were just incredible. And it would have never come out unless he had given his diary, his journal to his son, who released it like randomly
Yeah.
after he died.
Right.
The only thing that we would have known was when he had stopped in Argentina, or I think it was Argentina, which is a very interesting place to stop considering the Germans and the Argentinian connection there,
And that was the whole
you know?
purpose of the mission, was go down to Antarctica because we heard about some Nazi things going on. And at that time also there was a lot of UAP sightings above the White House. There was a lot of things happening that seemed supernatural. So Argentina, though, that's where Hitler fled. It was either Argentina or Chile. It was definitely some German Nazis.
Yeah, they seem to be spread between Argentina and Chile.
Mm-hmm. There's still Bavarian villages in those countries, which is really interesting. You'll go into some of those stores in those Bavarian villages, and there's tons of Nazi memorabilia on the wall because this is all their grandmas and grandpas. There's pictures of the
Yes, and
stormtroopers on the wall.
they tell us that in like in movies like X-Men, like they even show us that like that these guys were like Nazis and they fought there. I mean, these would just be officers, which is more of like a known fact besides like this idea that Hitler survived and went there, which I think is like, I mean, it's debatable for sure.
So continue with Bird. So Bird goes over Argentina. Now that part I never read. I thought he was going to Antarctica because there were claims that the Nazis had established some sort of base in Antarctica.
Yeah, he went there, and then there was the whole thing where these like saucers came out, and you can tie that to like the Glocke or like the Nazi bell and all that. They had advanced particle like particle physics weaponry essentially, like the energy weapons, and then they got their asses whooped essentially, and they let them go without destroying them all, so they could go back and like tell everyone what happened essentially. But they stopped at in Argentina on the way, and he sat down with, and you can still find this video. He sat down with a news organization in Argentina and was like, they have like these ships that can go from like one end, like one pole to another in like less than like X amount of time, like in like really really fast. And that was like the main thing that he dropped. And he was like, warfare is about to change. And then he got back. He and like the crew that survived, they were all sworn to secrecy. And then you never really heard about it again until, of course, his son dropped the diary, and apparently he instructed his son to do so like at a certain time because he just like he could hardly live with himself for having had to keep that secret.
You ever, when you think about the universe and humanity, you ever think about, how it's infinite, how we could just literally be a speckle on an eye, and as you zoom out from the eye, it's the universe, and then it'll zoom in on, it'll come out of the next eye, and then it's out of the next eye and the next eye after that. It when we talk about things like there being this breakaway civilization and what would seem to be like this infinite universe, it it really trips me out because it could either be that we're here, we've evolved from something that crawled out of the water. We were some sort of chimp or something that was given a special kind of mushroom or some sort of plant that ended up evolving us as humans. There's a chance that God just created us and we just popped up on the earth, or there's a chance that we broke away from like a civilization outside of the ice wall and we're honestly slaves inside of this bubble.
Yeah, and it's like I kind of like that's the thing I love about anthroposophy is like you can take it and run with all of those and have them like technically be true, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it's more just about like how you perceive it kind of thing. And that's like what a lot of like deep philosophical teachings will talk about too. But I think it's interesting you say that with like fractals, because that's like a big thing with it. Like like as you zoom out, like everything like looks kind of like the same. Like I guess like all of the galaxies, like when you really really zoom out, and the way that they are lined up and everything and form, like look like neurons in a brain.
Yeah.
So
For all
it's
we
like
know, we
this
could all just be maggots on the bottom of a fucking garbage can, I guess.
right.
It really could be. For all we know, you have we've been at this for almost 2 hours. You got anything else to add?
You know, I would just say, we finally like got through that Mercury retrograde. I always give a little astrology overview, like if there's something in your life you want to start getting done and moving on, it's the perfect time. Like you got the universe behind you to really help you out, like in these next couple of months here. Really it'll just flow a lot easier, much easier than if you start doing it like the middle of next year and all that. Still doable, like I said, you can power through the astrology sometimes, but you got like the wind behind your sails for like whatever's been revealed to you that you really want to achieve and get done for sure.
Yeah, and I second that. Um my life is an example of that right now, is building something that is unique to me. So anyone that is listening to this, like just go for it. Figure out a way and go for it. So if you're still listening, thank you. Like, subscribe, comment. Raffi, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, man.